Hi friends, I'm doing a little talk here in two parts. The first part's going to be on the Toccata from the Toccata Adagio and Fugue by Bach. And I picked these pieces because it really shows us the full extent of Bach's knowledge of what's going on in the world. He's really the first musician that we know that seems to be aware of not only everything that's going on in his own country, but all over Europe and all over Europe for the past couple hundred years. He seems to be aware of all of that and filtering it through his compositional process. I would like to say at the outset that I'm not a fundamentalist in any sense of the word. So the first question that you have to ask yourself when you're thinking about how you're going to interpret a text is, just because they did it some way back then, does that mean we have to do it the same way now? And I think the answer to that is no. There aren't music police that are coming after you if you do something in the wrong way. And I think that we should push ourselves to radically reinterpret some texts. However, the nice thing about historically informed practice, Baroque performance practice, is that it allows you to think of things in ways that you might not have thought of them before, and it provides expressive opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise considered. I owe a lot of my personal thinking about this to my organ teacher, Chris Marks, who was the first one that introduced me to it, and then did subsequent study after that. So let me just kind of take you through this toccata in this one and talk to you about some of the decisions that I make. The first one is this opening. How are you going to play the opening? Okay. There, what I'm trying to do is an audience listening, they automatically hear the first note as the downbeat, but Bach clearly doesn't want you to think of this first note as the downbeat. So I want some kind of motion. I'm trying to make the opening idea make the connection between the F. So I'll hold that a little bit longer. It resolves to the E at the end of the next gesture, and then ends on a C. So I'd like to talk about just two things in regards to this and the way that these things might affect your interpretation. So this is the way I articulate those two first ones. Then I'm going to do a scale. Now, we know pretty clearly from the documents that before Bach, people played all their scales with fingers 2 and 3. Or sometimes 3 and 4. Seems really weird to us today to do that. And in fact, before Bach, from all the information we have, when people played keyboard, they didn't even use their thumbs at all. And then one day Bach, said, oh, look at these things, I should put them to use or whatever. So sometimes when people interpret this music, they make a big deal of playing scales like that, putting a gap between every two pieces, strong, weak. I think that's a little precious and doesn't make much sense, but I do make certain decisions based on when I'll have to pick up my hand for how I want to articulate it. So when I'm playing Baroque music, oftentimes, like this opening scale, I'm doing as 4 and 4, so I actually do the fingerings this way, and I'll go 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up my hand, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then instead of like normal crossing, I'll pick up my hand again and start on 1 again. And that's because what I'm really trying to do is do that articulation like that. Yeah. Now, following this, we go into what is called a stilus fantasticus, the fantastic style. This is an improvisational style coming from the north of Germany. If you think about the generation before Bach, you're talking about Buxtehude, Boom, Lübeck, all of that school, where a piece will start off with an opportunity for an organist just to express their skill. But The fantastic style, like it implies, it's a fantasy. It's something you're improvising. You're making it up on the spot. So I don't think it needs strict tempo because it was an improvisational style. So I don't play some of this in strict tempo. So watch, I'm going to go. Okay. Notice I switched manuals there. That's not in the score. Why did I switch manuals in there? Well, I like to start this off slow because thinking like I'm improvising. And then I get going. I know what The reason I do a sort of little echo effect there is because Sweelinck wrote these pieces called echo fantasies, where he did that all the time. Present an idea, present the same idea on a different manual. Now, it's not referenced here when in the score that Bach is doing that, but I think that is what he's referencing, and so I like to switch manuals. So we get through all of this stuff. I'm going to start on the bottom of that page, let's say on the first page, and in this opening fantasy. Now, the fantasy continues, but in a wild and wacky way. Here, watch this. Notice I'm using some of the same echo effects for the same reasons. It's a similar or same gesture, but I'm going to reduce the registration, make an echo effect. The other thing about that is it's just wild, right? Because we're not used to big and low things moving fast, and it's also wild because I'm playing all of that with my feet. So there is something almost comical about it, I think. And if you think about the rhetorical way they were conceiving of these pieces, it's almost as if they're putting together a speech or an argument, or you're introducing characters. Here's my first argument. Here's my second character. Oh, what is it? You think it's almost like opera buffa or something. The drunk uncle is coming in here, stumbling around and moving all fast. So then, after a bunch of really fast pedal stuff, start on the, let's go, well, I don't know where I'm going to start. Somewhere towards the bottom of the page. Trills are terrible today. Now, into the next section, what is this? Idea, but this style is pretty easily recognizable. This is Corelli, Vivaldi, Italian concerto style music. You have your upper consort playing sometimes by itself. Concerto grosso style. There's your small ensemble, then the whole orchestra comes in. ensemble. Sorry for all the wrong notes. I haven't practiced this piece in a long time. So anyway, once we get to Italian concerto grosso style, then I don't think there's as much need for tempo fluctuation because he's just taking Vivaldi and Corelli style, and that goes pretty much to the end of this piece until it sort of peters out. Okay, so we're going to pause here, and then the Adagio and Fugue are going to be in the next section.